First of all, thank you for taking time to chat with me. Really enjoyed the film.
Oh, thank
Good.
you so much.
Yeah.
Pleasure
So
talking with you.
I think it's fair to say that, even though The Surrender is a horror film, in many ways it's also like a character-driven drama. Why do you think that this character-driven approach is so refreshing in horror?
Well, personally, I'm a huge fan of slow burn horror. I think that with a story like this, grounding it in reality really allows the horror to come through. I don't think the horror would land as well without that grounded sense of reality from the characters, without that mother-daughter relationship. I don't think it would emotionally hit as hard. So it was very important that we nailed that. And I think Colby and Kate just nailed that relationship.
Yeah, absolutely. And do you guys have anything to add as actors about what this approach, compels you?
Yeah, we've been talking a lot about this, that like the wonderful thing about doing genre work is that you get to do these like crazy things and try to be a human in the middle of all of it. And what's beautiful about this movie in particular is that like we get to talk about grief and we get to talk about mourning somebody and dealing with loss in an extreme way, and the only way that we can go to that extreme is if we build the relationships, like we have to establish how much both Megan and Barbara love Megan's father and Barbara's husband. Yeah. Vaughn Armstrong, that's the guy, the actor. Like we have to love him so much, and the relationships have to be so strong in order for our ritual that happens later in the movie to make sense, you know.
And from my point of view, I mean, as I was saying earlier today, is that the thing that was so wonderful about it is it is a character. You're exactly right, Sean. It's a character-driven drama that starts with these two women. You meet these two women in a time of crisis, and it's sort of classic of how they talk to each other and relate to each other, and then what happens sort of very magically and sort of devilishly is it morphs into something else. And for me as an actor, I always love that moment. And I've been in a million plays and a lot of TV shows and some films where like the story just turns on its axis. And that's really what happens in this movie. And it's why I was drawn to it when I read it and when I met with Julia, and then I, got to work with the extraordinary Colby. That was the thing that was very exciting about it. So it takes you by surprise.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think another movement we've been seeing in horror really recently is these films that are inspired by, intensely personal experiences. And obviously that's the case with this film. Why
Mm.
do you think that this makes for such exciting work?
I
I
think
mean,
it gives the audience a way in. Sorry, Julia. That's all I was going to say. It gives the audience a way in to be like, "Oh yeah, I've been in that situation. I Holy shit," you know? Julia, go ahead. Sorry.
I agree. I think the best art is the stuff that's the most personal to us because you're exposing something that's very vulnerable. And I think that shows. And it's very compelling to watch.
I'm going to be totally honest with you here. I can't watch horror movies. I mean, watching this movie almost killed me. And I was in most of the scenes, so I knew what happened. I get so scared. Oh my God. So so it's always very interesting to work in a genre that I don't watch very much because I was like when my manager said, "Oh, this is a horror movie that's coming your way that we think is really interesting." And I went, "Okay." And so then I started to read it and I was like, "Oh, this doesn't seem." And then it was like, "Oh, wait a minute." Although I should have known by the first image in the film, and we won't even say what that is. But here's the thing. As an actor, I love to work in genres, all different genres. It's a thrill. It gives us the sort of sense of versatility of what we do. But I always love it when the writing is so excellent as Julia's writing is. And that's what Colby and I look for as actors is, if the writing is great, it's like, oh, you know, then we're at least halfway there. So then we all we could do is screw it up. But but it was just a fantastic journey. From day one, we rehearsed for a week before we started shooting. So by the time we started shooting, we felt like we were breathing. There was no acting going on. There was very little acting. And I remember feeling like, oh, this just feels like real life, like natural real life, except for some of the things that we're doing.
Yeah.
Hopefully not like real life.
Yeah, the yeah, thing I'll add is like the script when I read it, I was like, "Oh boy, this feels so true to me." Like
Mm.
I have a very close relationship with my parents, and my parents are like wonderful, incredible people. But they also, they're into their supplements and their like herbal things. And sometimes I'm like, guys, like there's also like I appreciate that. That's really great, but there's also Western medicine is important sometimes, and like and like I remember reading this and being like, oh my God, I connect to this so immediately because it feels so specific. And because it's because Julia wrote it in such a specific way, I think so many people can connect to it. It's like these mother-daughter scenes are they can exist in a movie that does not then lead to a horror. Do you know what I mean? Like they are true to life.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think even though there are other actors in the film, obviously, so much of the film is just the two of you, for a lot of it. Did you find it challenging to only be working off of one another for so much of the film? Did you find it liberating? Where did
So
that kind of fall?
liberating.
Kevin.
I want doing a two-hander is I've wanted that for so long. It's my favorite thing. And also like I mean working with Kate, it's Kate Burton, guys. It's Kate Burton.
It's Colby Minifie, guys.
It's
Come on.
very legend. So for me,
Oh,
I was like, "Ooh, Kate Burton, like, boo!" So excited. And we also, we had just the script sets up the man who comes half two-thirds of the way through the film. Into the sets him up in a quite an intense way. Like he has a hard job, and that we're like, this guy is coming and he doesn't have a name, and we don't know, and he doesn't have a cell phone, and he can only be reached in these ways. And Neil showed up and like
oh my God.
was because we had such a tight connection. I think him being the third was like
Mm,
so insane and intense.
mm.
Or the fourth, because we also have Vaughn there. Sorry.
We also have fun. But I mean, the intensity that he brought to his performance, and we shot this kind of in order. So by the time we got to him, it was like week three. It was incredible. The other thing too, the two-hander aspect of it, when you get the blessed opportunity to work with such an actress as Ms. Minifie, it's pretty amazing. And I've had one other experience in my life of a two-hander mother and daughter. A play by the great Martin McDonagh called The Beauty Queen of Leenane, which I did all over Ireland, England, and on Broadway. And in that one, I was the daughter, and Anna Manahan, this amazing Irish actress, was the mother. And it had a similar vibe, and also Martin, as Julia knows and Colby knows, deals with this very sort of, kind of little Irish world, but then he also goes into this very dark world. I mean, you see it in the Banshees of Inisherin. And so that sort of notion of ordinary life and the darkness, which is, something sadly we're experiencing a lot these days. But I will say that in terms of storytelling, it's what's so extraordinary about Julia. I mean, you meet Julia, look at her, she's so beautiful, she's got this big smile. Little do you know what's lurking in this brain, this this intense
Superior.
storytelling brain of Julia Max. She's got it's so fantastic, and she is just a dream to work with, and created such an atmosphere of um just goodwill. Like everybody was on the same page, and it was really thrilling, and her direction is just so beautiful. And it's really, one of the things I get, I'm definitely learning, Sean, as I get older, is just it's all about storytelling. no matter whether you're a writer, the producer, the director, the actor, the cinematographer, the sound designer, we're all part of this incredible team, so really amazing to our Captain Julia Max.